It's hard to believe that it's been a little over 15 years since Audi first introduced the compact Q5 nameplate to the States, all the way back in 2009. Now, at the time, the Q5 was a little late to the compact luxury SUV space. However, it didn't stop this model from becoming the brand's bestseller, with over 70,000 units being sold in the US every year. Now, for 2025, Audi is looking to shake up the segment yet again with an all-new third generation. As you can see, it's a comprehensive redesign. We're talking about an all-new platform, new sheet metal on the outside, upgraded powertrains with more power under the hood, and a fully redesigned interior with their new digital stage infotainment system. So today we're actually out here in Newport Beach, California, because we're finally able to get behind the wheel of this US spec, the Audi Q5. And the big question I want answered, for those of you who are looking for a well-balanced compact luxury SUV, has Audi made enough changes to keep the Q5 competitive? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the brand new exterior sheet metal for the all-new third generation Q5, let me go ahead and pop the hood and remind you guys what's powering this thing. Now, here in America, Audi has basically offered a choice of a few engines for the Q5. However, the base engine continues to be a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, although Audi has upgraded it this year with more power. Now, as you can see underneath the hood, you're going to find a longitudinally mounted engine. So for those of you who try to call the Q5 a guzzied up version of the Volkswagen Tiguan, this is actually based off of a Porsche architecture. Remember, it's built on the PPC architecture, which is their new premium platform combustion. There's also an electric version called PPE. So this is technically an Audi and Porsche platform, nothing shared, of course, with Volkswagen. Now, this powertrain is the latest corporate 2-liter turbocharged direct injection 4-cylinder, making 268 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. That's an increase of 7 horsepower and about 22 pound-feet of torque. That power output figure is actually pretty close to what we see in the new Volkswagen Tiguan, although the Audi technically has more torque but the same horsepower. It all goes out through a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, a DSG. Audi and Volkswagen tend to make one of the best DSGs on the market. And the company's signature Quattro all-wheel drive system is going to be standard. Now, fuel economy is rated at 22 in the city and 30 on the highway. That's a pretty decent number, although some competitors like the new BMW X3 gets better at gas miles. This car is lacking a 48-volt mild hybrid system. The old Q5 had it. For some reason, for 2025, Audi decided to get rid of it here in the US spec cars. With its 17-gallon fuel tank, you're looking at over 400 miles of range on a full tank. That's on the recommended premium. Now, Audi claims the 0 to 60 time has improved to about 5.8 seconds, with a top speed of around 130 miles an hour. Towing capacity remains the same at a pretty class or above class average at 4,400 pounds. And as this car sits, it weighs in at just over 4,000 pounds. It weighs about 100 pounds more versus the previous generation. If you guys want more power, there's an SQ5, which has a turbo V6 with about 100 more horsepower. And then I'm also anticipating Audi to come out with a plug-in hybrid, which will have to wait another year or two for it to show up in America. But let's go ahead and close up the hood here and talk about the exterior styling, which, as you can see, the look of the new Q5 is certainly a lot more distinctive this year. I wasn't so sure about the design when I first saw it in pictures, but here in person in this US spec car, I have to say it is certainly handsome. It's a lot more stylish. It's still recognizable as a Q5. You can see my particular test car is the Prestige trim, so it's the fully loaded version with the Navajara blue metallic exterior. Here in the California sun, this beautiful blue paint for $600 really has some beautiful metallic sparkles to it. The headlights, you can see, are fully redesigned. They house their new OLED full LED technology, which has a dynamic turn signal, and it also has an LED daytime running light with 8 different light signatures where you can change the actual style of the DRL, which is cool. You also have LED low and high beams, as you can see, which of course is flanked by the larger and wider Audi single frame grille with the white accented Audi logo. I do wish those rings illuminated at night, but as you can see, it has the nicely integrated camera and parking sensors within the grille. There's kind of like a gray finish in the grille, a metallic gray, but you can also opt a black optics package, which will essentially black out some of the elements. You can see there's this little interesting trim piece here, which actually has, it looks like a functional air intake, which is also gray. You can again black that out. No fog lights on this vehicle, although you do have all-weather lights, which kind of functions as fog lights. And then down here at the front air intake, you can see functional openings along with the sensors for the radar cruise control and whatnot. Moving around the side profile of the vehicle, this is where the Q5, as you can see, is kind of a perfect size vehicle, which is why Audi didn't want to mess with the actual dimensions too much. With an overall length of 185.7, it's about an inch longer. With a 113-inch long wheelbase, it certainly is a pretty good size for this vehicle in this class. You can see the wheels. These are an optional 20-inch 5-arm wheel for an extra $800. They're riding on a 255 by 45 R20-inch tire. It's a Pirelli Scorpio all season. The Prestige model that I'm showing you here also has an adaptive air suspension, which does give you the ability to raise and lower the vehicle by about 1.5 inches when you guys have it in the off-road mode. There's also an independent suspension, as you can see, all disc brakes, and I really actually like the silver finish on these wheels. I don't particularly like silver wheels, but I think it flows well with the body lines and the color of this car. You can see there's also a full paint finish here, which I really appreciate. And this model, lacking the black optics package, has some silver accents along the side, along with the roof rails. The panoramic sunroof, as you can see, opens up to vent air, which I very much appreciate. Those mirrors are also power folding. And then, as you can see, a lot of Audi products have been adding the actual model designation at the bottom of the B pillar, which is nice. And then if you can see here, backing away from the vehicle, it still has that signature Q5 shape, which I think has just been updated nicely to kind of make it look a little bit more standoutish. There's also a Sportback version if you guys prefer one that has more of a coupe-like profile, which will eat into your cargo space a little bit and your headroom. But as you can see, moving around to the rear, very clean lines with their new styling language here. You can see the taillights are their latest 2nd generation OLED. It has that signature light bar going across. This light signature back here is also customizable. It basically is linked with the headlight design if you want to change that out. There's 8 different styles, of course. Badging back here, you can see the new Audi white outlined logo with the black Q5 badge. And I also really appreciate the actual exhaust tips back here. Previously, the Q5 had fake exhaust tips, which a lot of people criticize Audi for. So I appreciate that even the base Q5 has actual exposed exhausts, and they're real. You can see there's like this kind of silver piece here at the lower bumper, along with some fake looking vents. There's also a rear spoiler back here, which is pretty subtle, along with the third brake light. The actual rear wiper here, I would have preferred it to be hidden underneath the actual spoiler, but it's still a very clean, handsome design. Looking at the trunk capacity, you can see a power liftgate is included, and the Q5 has near top of the class cargo figures. As you can see, with the seats up, you get a total of just under 30 cubic feet of storage space, which is pretty competitive. There's also a little bit of storage to the side. If you lift this up, huge underfloor storage area, which is really appreciated if you guys want to put some groceries back here, keep stuff from rolling around. I also like the fact that Audi gives you release handles back here. You can also lower the air suspension from back here if you want by pushing this button, which is nice. Actually, we'll lower it up to around 1 inch almost to kind of help with getting stuff into the back of the vehicle. If you pull this, you can see the rear seats do fold down in a 40-20-40 manner if you'd like, and it expands the cargo to just under 60 cubic feet. Now, 60 cubic feet isn't the most in this segment, but it's pretty class competitive. But if you guys are cross-shopping it with like the Lexus NX, this definitely has around 15 more cubic feet of space. So Audi has clearly done a good job in my eyes on the exterior design of the redesigned Q5, but what about the interior? Before we get inside, however, let me show you guys the key fob. So as you can see, this is an update to Audi's current intelligent access fob. It's a similar shape, but as you can see, it has a slightly updated look. It's got a pretty minimal amount of buttons. So you have unlock, lock, power liftgate, and then a panic function. It's got the new Audi logo here, of course. So instead of a raised metal logo, it's just kind of a white painted plastic, which the key itself definitely feels a little bit flimsier, but it's a nice size, and you also can use your phone as a key if you guys are an owner of the vehicle, which is the first time Audi is offering that on the Q5. Now, as you can see, approaching the door handle, it's got the traditional pull style door handles. If I want to lock the door, just touch that area there. That will lock the doors and also power fold the mirrors if you have it set to do so. If you want to unlock the door, just touch the back of the door handle. That will unlock the door. Audi sadly does not offer a walk-away lock or unlock feature, unlike some of its competitors. Now, looking at this color combination, I love it. The Navajara blue metallic exterior with the pearl beige premium Napa leather interior. I love how Audi is offering more colors on the Q5 this year. You can also take your pick between either a black, a brown, or this pearl beige color. This is also the Prestige trim, so it includes upgraded leather with the contrast stitching and piping. These seats adjust in 14 different ways. They're also heated and ventilated. Ventilated seats are standard equipment. I love how, on the Prestige trim, and I love how Audi is finally offering cooled seats on other colors for the interior besides black, which used to infuriate me on the previous generation. Now, looking at the door panels, this is where I am noticing a little bit of cost cutting. This upper portion here has a slightly padded soft touch injection molded plastic. Down here, it is covered in the same nice, soft, high-quality Napa leather. This door handle, as you can see, it feels like it's metallic. It looks pretty nice, and it has a sturdy feel to it. The silver-painted plastic trim here does feel a little bit cheap. The window controls, they are one touch for all four, but I have to admit, they don't have the same satisfying click as the previous generation, and you have this new touch panel here to adjust your headlights, power door locks, the power mirrors, of course, your memory seats, which are two-person, and your rear child safety locks, which I like how Audi lets you control each individual one right here from the driver door panel. This lower portion is a hard touch plastic with a slightly scratchy edge. It is large enough to accommodate big water bottles, of course, but overall the interior certainly makes a nice first impression. Now, as I get inside, this vehicle has a nice easy step-in height thanks to its 8 inches of ground clearance. As I shut the door has a relatively solid sounding thunk. Remember, this is built on their new PPC architecture, Premium Platform Combustion, which is a new platform this year. Now, starting the vehicle up, start-stop button is here on the lower part of the dash. And this vehicle is not a hybrid or a mild hybrid, so it doesn't just whir to life. It has a standard starter noise pretty much, and you can, of course, adjust the drive mode selector via there. And listening to the engine, it has the typical 4-cylinder drone. If you guys want a more sweet sounding engine, obviously pony up an extra 12 grand to go for the SQ5. Now, looking at the rest of this cabin, as you can see, this massive wall of screens is essentially the centerpiece. It's called the Audi Digital Stage. It houses their new infotainment software, which is now an Android automotive based system. It has a huge 14.5-inch center screen here where you can interact with everything. You have an 11.9-inch screen here for the instrument panel. It's technically a smidge smaller versus the 12.3 in the previous generation. And then if you guys go for the Prestige package, you get a 10.9-inch display over here. And as you can see, you can pull up YouTube to watch your favorite YouTube channel, Redline Reviews, or you can also go to a web browser if you want to go here. There's also video games included in here as well, in addition to your Alexa Media, of course. And you can also pull up the GPS in here, your smartphone integration. So this is all very impressive, and I find this screen here to be a lot more usable and interesting versus other competitors that offer a passenger display. Here in the center display here, you can see I've shown you guys this infotainment system before. It's essentially the same one that we find in other new Audi products like the Q6. You can see here's all your usual widgets if you guys would like to kind of go through all that. I appreciate how Audi still continues to offer Sirius XM radio. It has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. My phone is not connected though because I'm using it to film, and it messes with the audio, of course. Going to the vehicle, this is where you can adjust certain things. You can adjust the exterior light signature, the interior ambient lighting color, of course. Audi offers a choice between all those different, or looks like 6 or 7 different options. You can also customize the lines and the surfaces, which makes the interior look a lot more modern, of course, at night. And the overall quick and snappiness of the system is much better. I also love the way Google Maps looks there, although you cannot put this map into this screen over here, which is something you used to be able to do. This is still a slightly customizable screen, but I have to admit it's not as good as the old system. You can see the software behind it is pretty similar, but it's just not quite the same. I also don't love the way the gauges look with the tach. The digital speedo is fine, but I much prefer the way the old tach used to look, where you could change the design of it as well. So this to me seems like a downgrade, but again, Audi, I guess, wanted to modernize it and make it feel a little bit more, I guess, minimalistic. Now, looking at the rest of the dash, you can see it's got a soft touch injection molded plastic with faux stitching. There's a head-up display on this trim, which is customizable. You can adjust it by pushing this button over here. The steering wheel offers a power tilt telescoping function, which is great. You have paddles behind the wheel, the new Audi logo, of course, which certainly looks, I think, pretty nice. The wheel is a 4-spoke design. The horn, it's pretty much what I expected it to sound like. At least it doesn't sound puny. Given the size of this vehicle, it's a smaller vehicle. You have this trim here, which tries to look like wood. It looks like wood. It just doesn't feel like wood to me. So I'm not entirely sure if this is genuine wood, but it does look nice, so I'll give Audi that because it looks good. Down here, you can see your air vents. Conventional, where you can adjust them manually, which I very much like. You can see down here you've got your drive mode selector. Like I said, you have a volume knob here if you want to also use a tuning scrolly joystick. You can also function as a joystick. Auto start stop defeat is there, which this vehicle doesn't have a mild hybrid system, so it's kind of jarry. We'll talk about that later on in the driving scene. You have your wireless phone charging pad here, and then this right here controls your 7-speed dual clutch. You can see put it in reverse. There's your backup camera, which has trajectory, distance markers, parking sensors, cross traffic braking. It even has a washer built in if the camera is dirty. If you guys live in a snow belted state, of course. I don't love the piano black plastic here, but I do like how this is padded where you'd rest your knees in case you have long legs, and you also have a nice padded center console. Open that up, it's actually pretty deep. It gives you additional storage. Like I said earlier, your two USBs are over here. I find the seats to be also pretty comfortable and supportive. Love the pearl beige with the premium Napa leather. This head restraint, however, does not adjust up or down or forward and back, and I found the headrest came forward a little too much. So try the seats out for yourselves. Make sure you like the seats. The glove compartment you can see is huge. It's damped and lined with felt. It offers lots of additional storage. And if you guys are audiophiles, the Bang & Olufsen sound system sounds pretty good as well. That's included if you guys go for the premium plus trims and up. Above me, you can see there's a woven material for the headliner. I don't love the cheap material you get on the sun visors, but you can see there's LED map lighting. There's also a sunroof that also opens up completely and tilts to vent air, has a built-in wind deflector. This is a nice touch. It's standard equipment on every trim of the Q5, whereas some competitors make you pay extra for the panel roof. As you can see, it opens up over just the front seat area, but very much appreciate that. Auto dimming rearview mirror. There's no digital camera rearview mirror, but overall, the interior certainly has the same, modern feel as some of the newest Audi products. I am starting to notice that Audi is essentially using this design across their newest models, and I'm kind of hoping they'll make some small changes to it to make it feel a little bit different. I mean, this is definitely different. The door panel is a little different versus the S5 that I also just got out of, but overall, it certainly feels like it's worthy of the Audi premium nameplate. But let's go ahead and hop into the backseat area. I can show you guys what that space is like. Now, the Q5 has always had a pretty generous backseat area, and as you can see, that is retained for 2025. Now, Audi says you have around 38 inches of legroom back here, which 38 inches is actually pretty good, especially considering this is a compact SUV. These seats also do fold down, so I can pull that. You can see they fold down to create almost a flat floor. And they also give you a recline function, a slight recline. If you want to recline it, that's pretty much the most you can recline it. And you can also see here, there's a strap that you can essentially pull, but I'll have to do that when I'm sitting in the seat because it's really hard to move. But this is one of the few cars that allow you to move the seat forward and back and recline it. Now you can see looking at the door panel, it's the same slightly padded material. Up in the upper portion, you have retractable sunshades on the Prestige trim. Leather, of course, down here with that metallic accented door handle. I wish the speakers had some metal grille covers, which would have been nice. It's hard touch plastic here. But once you get back here, you can see the space for somebody my height at 5'7" is pretty good. Now, like I said earlier, I can move this seat forward and back. That's with it moved all the way up, which definitely eats into the legroom space, but that's with it all the way back. So this is pretty much my driving position. I can get back here, cross my legs, get pretty comfortable, good foot space. Big hump here, however, for the center passenger. You have two USB-C charging ports, rear seat air vents, heated rear seats. That's on the Prestige trim along with your third zone climate control function, which is great. There's also an armrest that folds down here and gives you two cup holders, adjustable headrest here, and then you can see headroom space is actually not bad as well. So again, if you've got taller friends, you need to use this as a family vehicle, the Q5 will certainly be near the top of the class. So here we are finally behind the wheel of the all-new third generation Q5. The first thing I want to test, however, is the 0 to 60 performance, because Audi claims this model will get to 60 in around 5.8 seconds. It has essentially the updated version of the company's corporate 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with no mild hybrid system. The company claims 5.8 seconds, so let's go ahead and see what we can get. We have it in its dynamic mode, we have it in sport mode here, and I also turned the stability control into its sport setting. So let's go ahead and see what we can get. All right, on our first run there, we got 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds, which is bang on with what Audi claims, although I usually notice that the German brands tend to be conservative in their times. That was pretty much achieved on almost level ground, so I'll wait until I get one back home to test out and see if we can get something pretty similar. But what I'm noticing right away is this powertrain is very smooth. It also has a very smooth shifting 7-speed dual clutch that also shifts quickly, which I also very much prefer. This model obviously isn't the SQ5, but there's a certain sportiness about the Q5 in general. Remember, this is built on their new PPC architecture that it also shares with the Audi A5 and the S5, of course. Put my foot down here. Now, of course, 268 horsepower is a fairly good amount of power, but it's also not as strong as some of its competitors that have over 300 horsepower from their base engines, but I think this should be enough power for most. This 7-speed dual clutch also is a really great transmission. Now, Audi and Volkswagen always do some of the best dual clutches you're going to find in the business, and that's certainly the case here. This transmission is kind of an updated version, I believe, of the 7-speed in the previous generation. But what I'm noticing here in dynamic mode, even when it's in its sports setting, this car has a really good ride quality. It glides over the bumps quite nicely. We're on the bigger 20-inch wheels, but the air suspension kind of soaks up all the ruts and the nastiness, which honestly here in Orange County on this interstate that we're getting onto, it actually is really smooth. I love driving around here compared to LA. It's much easier to drive around compared to LA. But other than that, you know, this car is just an easy car to live with. It has just enough power to pass people on the highway, but at the same time, what I'm noticing at highway speeds, it actually is pretty refined. It's relatively quiet in here. I'm going to switch the drive mode here out of its dynamic. We're going to go into the individual setting. Individual, I've pretty much programmed it to give me the softest ride while giving me a balanced, you know, feel for everything else. And this is where the car just reminds you that it's a luxury SUV. It glides down the road with a level of solidity and refinement. You can basically drive this vehicle all day long on a longer road trip, while at the same time it should be able to get pretty decent gas mileage. And the visibility out of this car is also pretty good. I can see out of the front, the side, and the rear quite nicely. There is no digital camera review mirror, but you don't necessarily need it because you can see out of the back quite well. Although I'll be curious to test drive the Sportback version at some point to see if that is a little bit more constricted from the view at the back because it has that sloping roofline. The seats are also really comfortable and supportive. You know, earlier I was complaining about the headrest being too far out, but for some reason right now I'm driving the car, and remember, this is just a first drive. It's not really bothering me too much, so I find the seats to be really comfortable. It is lacking the massage function that Audi offers in some of their other models. This particular version has the cooled seats at least, and the cooled seat function works pretty nicely. I also really like the instrument panel, how it shows you literally right there what the car's cameras actually see for the driver assistance package. Their adaptive cruise is standard, but their upgraded adaptive cruise is part of the Premium Plus package. But this car in general, when you're just cruising down the road, it just feels refined. Now, I did notice at times the engine is pretty smooth, but at the same time, at higher RPMs, it can get a little bit raspy. So kind of keep that in mind. It is a 4-cylinder. It lets you know that it's a 4-cylinder from time to time, especially when I was just kind of stopped. I noticed there was a lot of vibration coming through the steering wheel and the pedals when it was just sitting there idling. So I wish it was a little bit more refined there. And I am noticing as we go up this hill, there is a little bit of a lack of horsepower. So I'm required to kind of put my foot down to accelerate a little bit more and maintain speed, but it's not bad. I mean, 5.8 seconds is a little bit faster versus the last Lexus NX or Acura RDX that I tested. But remember, if you guys want something even quicker, the V6 SQ5 should shave about a second off that 0 to 60 time. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is the CarPlay, because as you can see, that screen looks amazing. I love the proximity of the screen. I like how it's within easy reach for somebody who has shorter arms like myself. It's really quick and snappy and responsive. My phone connects to it pretty much every time that I was driving this vehicle versus the earlier Audi MMI system. Used to struggle to connect to my phone at times. It would randomly disconnect and I would sit there getting pissed off trying to get it to reconnect. But this again is really nice, and if you want to go back to the native software, it's pretty easy to do so. There's the embedded Google GPS, which you can also put over there, which, by the way, I can't see the screen over there because I am driving and the system essentially blanks it out. Now, the one thing I am noticing is the fuel economy of this vehicle. I won't get a chance to test it today because I'm on this really short media drive. It's rated at 22 in the city, 30 on the highway. It was showing around 470 miles of range on a full tank. That's better versus the 430 that I was thinking it should get based on the fuel tank capacity and the combined rating. So again, I'll have to wait until I get one back home to test for a week to do a more extensive fuel economy test with this vehicle. But other than that, highway cruising, I think is the best, attribute of this car. It can handle some curves nicely. The steering in this car, as you can see, it's got their progressive steering as standard nowadays, and the steering itself doesn't offer much in terms of feedback, but it is quick and precise, and you can feel the vehicle changes directions pretty quickly. In fact, the suspension stays relatively flat, and if you guys want, you can go into a comfort setting. I'm definitely noticing when you go into comfort, for example, the suspension gets even softer. So if you're looking for the softest ride quality, you're definitely going to want the suspension in its comfort setting. But I mean, overall, if you guys are coming from the old Q5 and into this new version, it's gonna feel pretty similar. At the same time, the engine is also pretty good, delivers good power, although not near top of the class fuel efficiency. I do really love this dual clutch. I think it's definitely one of the more interesting transmissions. Yet at the same time, even in stop and go traffic, it wasn't really jerky or clunky, although when I was really driving the car aggressively, when you launched it, you definitely noticed that it does get a little bit clunky as it shifts really harshly at times, but it's all doing that, I guess, for the theatrics to get the best 0 to 60 time. But overall, if you guys liked the old Q5 or you're trading out of your old version to the new version, this new model is gonna feel quite familiar. It's a really easy car to live with, really easy car to drive. And again, if you're an enthusiast, you want more power, demands more power, the SQ5 is certainly the one you're gonna wanna go for, although it's gonna cost you an extra 12 grand to get that additional power. So with just over 56,000 units sold in America last year, the Audi Q5 was again the best-selling Audi model here in the States. However, that number is also a pretty significant fall versus that same time period in 2023 where Audi managed to do a little over 74,000. It was actually the best-selling compact luxury SUV in America back in 2023. Last year, however, the Lexus NX surpassed it, and of course the BMW X3 surpassed it. The Q5 is desperately in need of a full redesign. So for 2025, I'm happy to show you guys, of course, and talk about the all-new third generation. As you guys saw, it's still a really nice driving SUV. If you guys are looking for that perfect blend of comfort, luxury, and technology with a little bit of hint of sportiness, the Q5 is certainly an SUV that's going to make it to your top of your list. The 2-liter turbo engine certainly goes about its business just fine. The 7-speed dual clutch is also a willing partner. 0 to 60 is going to happen consistently in just under 6 seconds for most situations, which I think is fast enough for most people. I'll be looking forward to getting my hands on an SQ5 at some point to show you guys a full review. The ride quality of this vehicle is also comfortable. It's quiet on the inside. The interior also has a big upgrade in terms of technology. And I also think that Audi has done a great job at making the seats comfortable. The back seat is spacious. The infotainment software is also a huge upgrade. Like I said earlier, it just makes this car make you realize again that Audi is typically a leader in terms of technology, whereas the previous generation was starting to fall a little bit behind. Cons of the vehicle, it's definitely gotten a lot more expensive over the years, especially for this new generation, because if you guys are looking to get your hands on this vehicle, they're heading to Audi dealerships as we speak, and base pricing for the Q5 has crept up to about $52,000 for the base version. Now, of course, it sounds like a lot more money, and that's because Audi has dropped the base engine in this car, which started at around $45,000, so now it starts at $52,000 as a $7,000 price increase. However, if you look at the Q5 last year, if you guys got the upgraded 45 TFSI engine, which has basically 261 horsepower, this has 268, the price delta is around $3,500, which is still pretty high. I mean, at that starting price of around 52 grand, this is several $1,000s higher versus some of its Japanese rivals, although it starts right in line with a lot of its German competitors like the Mercedes GLC and the BMW X3. If you guys want to step it up to the Premium Plus trim, which would have most of the features that people want, it's going to cost you around $56,000. The Prestige that I'm showing you here starts at around 60 grand with destination, the color upcharge. On my test car here with the optional wheels, you're looking at an as-tested price of just over $63,000. 63 grand is definitely a lot, especially for a car that doesn't have the SQ5 badge. Remember, if you want the SQ5, it's going to cost you an extra $12,000. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2025 Audi Q5 in the Prestige trim. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.